Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am the Inconsequential Runner, and joining me, as always, is Coach Mark. Hello, Coach Mark. How are you going, buddy?
I'm good, thanks, Darcy. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm going great. I'm going great, Coach Mark. Now, for anyone joining us for the first time, these are short, sharp videos. We cover one subject matter per video to keep it short and sharp and to keep it focused on something where you, as a runner, can take some really golden nuggets of information and incorporate it into your running so you just become a better runner, or it makes running more fun for you. That's it. That's what these videos are about. Of course, if you like this video, you know the story, hit like. And if you want to be kept in the loop with other videos as they come along, hit subscribe. Coach Mark, for you, we've had a few questions come our way about hill training. And I'm going to throw it your way and ask you to give us an introductory plan in terms of how do we start to incorporate hills? Because we have heard about the benefits of hills. Everyone knows, I think, by and large, and correct us if we're wrong, you can't get fitter faster than attacking hills or incorporating hills into your program. But I know a lot of people who watch our videos, some of them are beginners, some of them have been running for a little while, and some of them are quite advanced. And hills can be quite taxing on the body. So, Coach Mark, irrespective of what level we're at, what sort of things should we be thinking about in terms of incorporating hills into our program? Where should we start? What sort of things should we be thinking about? What would you advise us, Coach Mark?
Well, hills are definitely a shortcut to success if you put on that, because not that there's really many shortcuts, but I think hills is a definite one that can raise your game a little bit. And thankfully, for me and you, we live in a place in Wellington which is very hilly. So we don't, we more have a challenge of having to run on the flat, don't we? But like any if you are new to hills and you want to add hills into your program, it's important that you don't just launch straight into running hills, because with running, it's all the golden rule is any new stress, you introduce it gradually,
right?
So that your body adapts to it,
right?
So if you have that in mind, then you're automatically going to make the right decisions there. What I suggest to people is initially, and this also actually applies if they've had a period of rest and are just back into running after a period as well. You just go for a normal run and include some hills, ideally a route with lots of small hills, so nothing too long or grindy, and just the last 20 to 30 meters of each hill, just stress them a little bit more.
Just over the top.
That doesn't necessarily mean, yeah, that's right. It doesn't necessarily mean blasting the pace, but more focus on your form up the hills.
Right.
Because the key benefit of hills really is it improves your running form, economy, and power. So if you grind up a long hill where you're shuffling up there, that might be good in one way, but it's not going to help your form, your power, your economy.
No.
So little hills will do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So you do that for a few weeks. Just go for a run and just push the hills, the last bit of the hills, a bit harder. And as that gets a little bit easier, you can increase the amount of time you're running up the hill. It might be the last 40 meters, last 50 meters, and that's just getting the body used to it.
Yeah. Okay, what are some of the warning signs in terms of if we're pushing a little bit too hard, a little bit too fast? Because as you say, hills, they can really increase your fitness quite quickly, but you have to pay the price, and that is sometimes you're working a little bit harder, or you're working a lot harder on hills.
Yeah.
So, and I heard some advice, and I don't think it was good advice, and I commented on it, where someone said, hey, look, start with some hills, do 60 meters to 100 meters, and for a beginner, just do 10 reps. And I thought that was astounding. This is my view. Tell me if I'm wrong. But 10 reps on hills, I thought was just way too much for a beginner. I struggle to do it now, because if you're doing them, they take a lot out of you. So what I think I'm asking you, Coach Mark, is universally, whether you're a beginner or intermediate or an advanced or a professional runner, what would be a warning sign we'd look for that would give us feedback that we're doing too much in terms of the hills, or we're going too intense? Is it an ache or a pain, or is it a twinge, or is it we can't recover quickly, or is there something we should keep an eye out that would be a warning sign for us, a good warning sign that maybe we're sort of over pushing it on the hills, our body hasn't adapted to the level we're pushing it on hills?
Yeah, it's all centers around the muscles around the ankles, the muscles and tendons around the ankles.
Okay.
There'll be tightness in the calves, achy Achilles tendon, and a niggly arch under the foot.
Yeah.
The other three things. Yeah, and I know I've done it myself. I've got too enthusiastic over hills, and I've had plenty of people I've been involved with have done the same, and that's what they've reported, one of those three things. And then it's important to ease off the hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really listen to your ankle and everything around the ankle. So the arch, the Achilles tendon, the ankle, everything around that. If you're feeling aches and pains or twinges or something, then and you're doing a lot of hills, then maybe those two, there's interrelationship there. So be conscious of that.
Yeah. That's right. It's the ankle that does that extra work on the hills, and that's really the joint that you're most wanting to work really when you're doing hills. Yeah. So
go on.
Oh, the other thing as well, if you're doing hills, you say 10 reps, you're advised 60 meters or something. You soon know if that's too much as well, because your form will go.
Oh, this is what I was about to ask. Yeah. How do you know then in the session? Okay, so your form will start to go. Okay.
Yeah. And you I mean, it's I guess that comes with experience, where you know your form is going, but also if you run to a certain point and it should take you about the same amount of time or less as you do each rep, because you're actually getting better. If it starts taking you longer and you feel like you're not running with the same spring, all that, then stop the session. You've done too much, or you've done enough. You're not going to get any benefit from grinding up the extra bit.
Okay. So if you're running, say you're doing 5 hill reps, and I take your point about you actually tend to get faster, because that's what I experienced. The first one usually is just, it feels like you're knocking out a little bit of rust. You probably warmed up before it. And anyone who's watching this that wants to know about a good warm-up, I think it's about 5 videos back. Have a look at our warm-up routine that Coach Mark shares with you. So after a good warm-up, even the first one, even warmed up, I find you're knocking out a little bit of rust. And the second one and third one's usually the fastest. So with the point you're making, if you're doing it for either distance or time, if you're doing it for distance, if you've got a landmark you're running from and 2 on the hill, Coach Mark, you're saying keep an eye on your time. If it's starting to blow out, or your form's starting to go before you reach that point, it's an indicator that it's a little bit too long. You're probably pushing it a bit too much. Is that what you're saying, Coach Mark?
That's right. Yeah. And when you do your when you're moving into things like hill rep, and we've talked about hill reps here, and that's the best way of getting the most effectiveness out of hills, actually doing concentrated hill reps. So you start off just running around and emphasizing the last 20 to 30 meters of a hill. Once you say you actually want to do a hill rep session where the hills aren't too long, as we're saying. 30 to 60 seconds is normally right. As you get better and fitter and stronger, you can extend that out. But you certainly don't want to go straight off the bat doing 60 seconds or longer, because that is one, it's going to really stress your body, and 2, your form is likely to suffer during that. So it's the aim of hills aren't generally to make it quite so tough on the heart and lungs. you think of them more in terms of your leg strength, if you keep that in mind.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So what resonates with what you're sharing with us now, Coach Mark, is sometimes when people go to the gym, you hear about this train to failure. So someone might do so many reps where they start to fail. You're saying don't have that mindset for this. This is not about train to failure. It's a short, sharp interval. You want to finish as strong as you start. So be conscious of how long it's taking you to do that length, and be conscious of your form at the end, because the purpose is strengthening up your legs. And because it's putting a lot of force through your legs, be conscious about what's going on around your ankles, what's happening in the arch under your foot, your Achilles tendon. You know, be hyper conscious of. I mean, hills are good; they're good for all of us. But that's one way of just monitoring your body health as you go through it week to week.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
Coach Mark, it's sometimes really hard to get motivated to run hills, but I think you've motivated us. There's going to be a number of people watching right now that are going to click off this YouTube video and go and hit some hills. And actually, the other thing I would offer maybe as a tip is I find hills really great during the rain, because I don't know, you can just sort of cloak up for them. You can get everything on, keep yourself dry.
Yeah.
Hills are going to be hard enough anyway, so it's not like you're wearing a whole bunch of layers and you're running on the flat and you're like, this is way harder than it should be. It all sort of gets, the hill just sort of, do you know what I mean? It sort of blinds you.
I do.
You're wearing so much stuff. It's a good way to
yeah, that's right. Yeah. And often if you're doing hill reps, you're generally not so far from home as well. So that's kind of comforting in bad weather.
I was going to say that. Yeah, they're just around the corner. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right, Coach Mark. So hill reps, a couple of, just get out and do them. Don't exhaust yourself on them. That's not the purpose. It's to strengthen your legs. Be conscious about your ankles and the whole area around that. Self-monitor, see how you're going. That's for the long-term maintenance of hills. For short-term, make sure whatever distance you're doing or whatever time you're doing. So if you do your first rep in terms of time and at 60 seconds, my tip would be to you is mark where that landmark is and then run to that landmark each time, and then keep an eye on time. Don't run to 60 seconds all the time, because you find you're looking at your watch. So the next time you run to that 60-second landmark, if it's 65 seconds, bit of a warning sign. So keep an eye on the time, keep an eye on your form. And that great tip, and I hadn't heard this before, and I like this, Coach Mark, is when you're doing undulating runs and you're about 30 meters, 20 meters, 30 from the crest of a hill, just pick up your form a little bit, just go up what I call in my mind half a click, and just go over the top. Coach Mark, is that it in a nutshell? What have I missed?
No, you haven't missed anything. You haven't missed anything. You can of course use hills as well, because then, you know, once you really nail the hills and you feel very strong on them, you can then bring hills in that are specific to an event you're aiming at. So you might be doing an event that is a long grind up a hill. So the best way to train for that, obviously, is to do some long grinds up a hill, or it might be short blasts. Or what I sometimes get people doing is practice running hard up a hill, turning around, and running hard back down the hill again. You know, and then maybe turn around at the bottom, run back up again, because that might apply to an event they're doing. You know, whether they're doing up down, which is a brutal session, but it's like anything. If you're doing a brutal race, you know, you've got to prepare for that.
There it is. There it is. What a note to finish on, Coach Mark.
Yeah.
Team, thank you for watching and getting right to the end of the video. If you have any questions you want me to pitch to Coach Mark, just throw them in the comments. We pick it up that way. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Coach Mark, as always, thanks so much for your advice. I and the team that are watching really appreciate it. Thanks, Coach Mark.
Yeah, my pleasure. See you later.
Ka kite. Bye.